Lot, the nephew of the patriarch Abraham. His story is so intriguing, yet gets overshadowed by so many other powerful and amazing stories in the Bible that it almost feels like a hidden gem. Today, we are diving into the untold story of Lot. His life, a tapestry of choices, faith, and consequences, is something quite extraordinary. Let's get to it. Lot's story begins in a place called Ur of the Chaldeans, a city steeped in history and ancient culture, located somewhere north of the Persian Gulf. Here, amidst the bustling life of Ur, was a young man named Lot, the son of Haran and the nephew of Abram, later known as Abraham, a significant figure in the Bible and the father of many nations. Lot's early life was marked by a sudden tragedy, the unexpected death of his father, Haran. Following this loss, the dynamics of Lot's family changed dramatically. Terah, his grandfather, took the lead in caring for the family, which included Lot and his childless uncle Abram. It was a bond forged by loss and necessity, as both uncle and nephew filled the voids left in each other's lives. This bond would play a crucial role in Lot's journey ahead. Then came a decisive moment. Terah decided to move his family from Ur to Canaan, a land that promised new beginnings. But fate had other plans, and they ended up settling in a place called Haran instead. Lot's life in Haran was likely a blend of learning new customs and adapting to a new environment, all while clinging to the memories of Ur and his late father. When Terah passed away, Abram received a divine call to resume the journey to Canaan, a land where God promised to make him a great nation. Lot, perhaps out of loyalty, respect, or simply a lack of better options, decided to accompany Abram on this journey. This decision was a leap into the unknown, a testament to Lot's trust in his uncle, and perhaps an early indication of his own faith. Once in Canaan, however, they encountered unexpected adversity. A severe famine struck the land, testing the resilience and faith of Abram and Lot. This scarcity of food and resources compelled Abram to make a critical decision: to move to Egypt, where sustenance was more likely to be found. This decision was made out of necessity, not divine instruction, marking a pivotal moment in both Abram and Lot's lives. Their journey to Egypt was fraught with challenges and moral dilemmas. Abram, aware of his wife Sarai's beauty and fearing for his own safety, devised a plan to present her as his sister rather than his wife. This half-truth led to Sarai being taken into the pharaoh's harem. Despite the moral ambiguity of this decision, it ironically led to Abram, and by extension Lot, being treated well in Egypt, receiving wealth in the form of livestock and servants, one of whom was Hagar, who would later play a significant role in Abram's story. However, the sojourn in Egypt was not without divine intervention. God inflicted diseases upon the pharaoh and his household because of Sarai, revealing the truth about her relationship with Abram. This led to the pharaoh returning Sarai to Abram and requesting that they leave Egypt. Despite the challenges faced, their time in Egypt left Abram, and consequently Lot, with considerable wealth, including cattle, silver, and gold. After their departure from Egypt, Abram and Lot journeyed northward, back to Canaan. They went up to the south, eventually reaching Bethel, the place where Abram had previously built an altar and called upon the name of the Lord. This return to Bethel symbolized a recommitment to their faith and mission after the morally complex sojourn in Egypt. However, prosperity brought its own set of challenges. The land could not support both their livestock, and disputes arose between their herdsmen. It was a practical problem with profound implications. Abram, ever the peacemaker, proposed a solution. He offered Lot the first choice of land, a gesture that spoke volumes about Abram's character and his relationship with Lot. Lot, now at a crossroads, made a choice that would define much of his future. He chose the plains of the Jordan, alluring and lush, resembling the beauty of the gardens of the Lord, reminiscent of the land of Egypt. This choice, while seemingly practical, edged Lot closer to Sodom, a city marked by moral decay and sinfulness. Lot setting up his tent near Sodom unwittingly sets the stage for the future trials and tribulations that would engulf him and his family. You see, despite the city's notorious reputation, Lot chose to live there, perhaps drawn by the prospects of prosperity. This decision to live in such a morally depraved environment would have significant consequences for Lot and his family. Living in Sodom, Lot witnessed the city's sinful ways firsthand, a stark contrast to his upbringing and the values he had learned from Abraham. Lot's life in Sodom took a dramatic turn, however, when a conflict involving multiple kings engulfed the region. Amraphel, king of Shinar, also known as Babylonia; Arioch, king of Elasar; Chedorlaomer, king of Elam; and Tidal, king of Goyim, formed an alliance and waged war against several other kings, including those of Sodom and Gomorrah. These cities had been vassal states to Chedorlaomer for 12 years and rebelled in the 13th year. In the 14th year, Chedorlaomer and his allies defeated the Rephaim, Zuzites, Emites, and Horites, and then turned their attention to the rebel cities, including Sodom. The battle took place in the valley of Siddim, which was full of tar pits. When the kings of Sodom and Gomorrah fled, some of their people fell into these pits, while others escaped to the mountains. The victors captured all the possessions of Sodom and Gomorrah, including their food supply, and took many captives, including Lot, who was living in Sodom at that time. When Abraham learned that his nephew Lot had been taken captive, he immediately took action. Gathering 318 trained men born in his household, Abraham went in pursuit of the captors. His forces defeated Chedorlaomer and his allies, and Abraham rescued Lot, along with his possessions, the women, and other people who had been captured. This feat was so crazy and miraculous if you think about it. 319 men defeating a coalition of armies was a testament of God being with Abraham. After this dramatic rescue, Lot returned to Sodom, despite its wickedness and the danger it had recently posed to him and his family. This decision to return to such a perilous environment is reflective of the complex nature of Lot's character and the challenging choices he faced throughout his life. Lot's time in Sodom and his subsequent capture and rescue by Abraham highlight the dangers of living in a sinful environment and the powerful bond of family. Despite Lot's questionable decisions and the corrupting influence of Sodom, Abraham's dedication to rescuing his nephew underscores the enduring nature of family ties and the importance of kinship in times of crisis. In the midst of all this chaos, God decided to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah for their wickedness. Lot, however, found grace in God's eyes. His encounter with two angels, who arrived in Sodom to execute God's judgment, marked a pivotal moment in his story. When the angels arrived, Lot was sitting at the city gate, a position that indicated his role as a prominent figure in Sodom. Recognizing the danger they faced in such a corrupt city, Lot insisted they stay at his house for protection. This insistence reflected Lot's understanding of the city's wickedness and his effort to maintain some moral integrity. The situation escalated when the men of Sodom, young and old, surrounded Lot's house, demanding to engage in sexual acts with his guests. In a desperate attempt to protect the angels, Lot offered his virgin daughters to the mob, a disturbing and morally complex decision that underscored the depth of his predicament in Sodom. The angels intervened by pulling Lot back into the house and striking the mob with blindness, thus preventing further harm. The angels then instructed Lot to gather his family and leave the city immediately, as they were sent to destroy it due to the overwhelming wickedness. Despite the clear danger, Lot hesitated, reflecting his deep entanglement with the city. The angels, in an act of mercy, took the hands of Lot, his wife, and daughters, leading them out of Sodom. This act of deliverance underscores the mercy of God, even in the face of impending judgment. Lot's wife, however, looked back at the city as they fled, an act of disobedience that resulted in her transformation into a pillar of salt. This tragic outcome serves as a poignant reminder of the consequences of longing for a sinful past. The angels allowed Lot to escape to the small town of Zoar instead of the mountains, demonstrating God's willingness to accommodate his fear and weakness. The destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah was complete, with fire and sulfur raining down from heaven, obliterating everything in the cities and the surrounding plain. This act of divine judgment was a response to the city's unrepentant sinfulness, serving as a stark warning against ongoing rebellion against God. Lot's deliverance from Sodom was an act of God's mercy, possibly influenced by Abraham's intercession. Abraham had previously pleaded with God to spare the city if 10 righteous people could be found there. Although such a number was not found, God still rescued Lot and his daughters, indicating his responsiveness to Abraham's plea and his mercy towards Lot, despite the latter's compromised morality. Lot's story in Sodom, his hesitant departure, and the tragic fate of his wife highlights the dangers of becoming too entangled in a sinful environment and the importance of heeding God's warnings. After the harrowing escape from the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, Lot's life took a drastic turn. Initially, he and his daughters fled to Zoar, but fearing for their safety, they eventually settled in a cave in the hills. This move marked a significant shift from Lot's earlier life of prosperity and influence in Sodom to one of isolation and fear. In this secluded environment, Lot's daughters, influenced by their upbringing in the morally corrupt city of Sodom, and perhaps also driven by the desperation of their situation, made a disturbing decision. They believed that they were among the last survivors on earth and feared that there were no men left to continue their family lineage. To remedy this, they conspired to intoxicate their father on 2 consecutive nights and had sexual relations with him, resulting in pregnancy for both daughters. From these incestuous encounters, the elder daughter gave birth to Moab, the ancestor of the Moabites, and the younger daughter to Ben-Ami, the ancestor of the Ammonites. Both these groups would later become traditional enemies of the Israelites. This aspect of the story has been interpreted as a disparaging origin tale for these 2 groups by some scholars, possibly reflecting the tensions and hostilities of the times. The actions of Lot's daughters, while shocking, can be seen as a reflection of the influence of their environment in Sodom, where sexual immorality was rampant. This account highlights the powerful impact of one's surroundings on moral judgment and decisions. The choices of Lot's daughters were likely shaped by the lack of righteous influence in Sodom and their subsequent life experiences, which included witnessing the destruction of their city and the loss of their mother. Lot's post-Sodom life, therefore, serves as a cautionary tale about the long-lasting effects of living in a sinful environment and the dire consequences of poor choices. It underscores the importance of righteous influence and the dangers of moral compromise, offering valuable lessons on the impact of one's environment on personal ethics and behavior. And so, we come to the end of our exploration of Lot's life. But the journey through the fascinating stories of the Bible doesn't end here. Stay tuned for more tales, more insights, and more revelations. Until next time, keep pondering, keep questioning, and keep exploring the depths of these ancient narratives.